Hedgerowshire Limited Broadcasting Megacorp.
Wait. I order you to wait. The unimportant notice at the beginning of this episode is also an unnecessary, unimportant notice. What you're about to view now is a highlights show from season 1 of The Duchess Show. So sit back and enjoy something truly strange and perhaps wonderful.
All right, good morning. Is this just our test shot for the screen test for check lighting and sound and all that good stuff? I'm assuming it is, because, well, I don't want to get started on my major story, which is going to be so fabulous until I know for sure that we are good to go. What do you say, producer? Well, looks like we're rolling. Hello! We were doing an introduction where I was going to introduce myself. So, the Duchess of Hedgerowshire.
And what is this?
This is a reality show, documentary, about the lives of real duchesses in the 21st century. Before I went to sleep, I ate a small piece of divinity. I put it on my tongue and closed my eyes. Went to sleep. And then, normal people don't have those murder holes and things like that in their homes that we have. Hideous Victorian diseases they used to have. I mean, you think about that and immediately the mind goes to fussy jaw. Oh, those poor matchworkers, and they had that poisoning from working with the phosphorus, and then their jaws would just rot off. It's absolutely hideous. I mean, he said, I need a yardstick. So I walked from the Admiral's sitting room back out through the old keep and into the Georgian wing and down through the Victorian addition to where we keep our tools and things. I don't think I could really be anything else except for a duchess. I don't know what I would do with my life. I'm told to be a jockey and going to be delicious. We have a bowl of lemons, which I love to have a bowl of lemons around the house, and in almost every room. They just make things smell so fresh. And the hippos do eat them, and that was why we ran out, unexpectedly, and I needed some. Dance floor was packed, even though the band really picked a big one, I can tell you of that. They completely munched a butt. Me right out of my clothes. I do have this nice, it's fur. It's very cold in the castle right now. It was said that Lizzie was just as beautiful as she was the day they buried her, but I highly doubt it. These were Victorian standards of burial, so. Up in my room and I keep my stash of twiglets and break open a jar of mango chutney and dip the twiglets in the chutney and enjoy how hot and sweaty it is. I can't do anything with math. I could possibly read books for a living. I'm very good at that. It's too bad we can't all get together and make soup. And we could make soup and talk about it. I just went in to get some guys. And then I walked in and I was like, ooh, fruitcake. The postman may come and slap you around a bit if you don't comply.
The Duchess Show. Starring the Duchess of Hedgerowshire. The Duchess Show is filmed before a well-behaved studio audience.
Unleash the hounds. The Admiral's out at sea right now. Send for Mims and the turnip baskets. Time to feed the baby hippo. You know, the Duke really objects to the hounds pissing around the castle, and I really can't stand listening to any more of his whinging. For some euros at some point, we wouldn't mind that later. Could go
errands are always nice. We really... Oh, yes, Beaumont. You followed us. Good show. I'm going to be drinking rather more heavily tonight than normal, you see, because the Admiral has been a bit of a problem. Cranky, bleeding all over the place, or some sort of foreign object has become embedded in someone's body. I'm good in an emergency, because, quite frankly, it doesn't bother me. Human suffering is nothing. As long as it's not an animal that's wounded, I can't bear to see a little dog with a thorn in its paw, perhaps, or a little kitty that's had its ear torn in a fight. And here's the story of them. It's quite appropriate for Halloween. Lizzie had consumption, which today we would call tuberculosis. And she was also addicted to laudanum. Anyway, they had a baby girl, and the baby girl died, and then Lizzie afterwards pined away and died of a laudanum overdose. And Dante Rossetti had written all these beautiful, beautiful poems, and when they buried Lizzie, he put the poems in the casket and buried his life's work with her. Well, several years later, he had some regrets about that. So he went with his pal, whose name I can't remember, but he always hung out with all those pre-Raphaelites. Anyway, they went into the churchyard at night and dug up Lizzie's grave and stole the poems. At any rate, we were fine until the middle of the night when I was awakened by screaming. This does not normally happen. In the castle or in the duchy, we don't have a lot of murders, and the castle certainly isn't haunted. I say, bring it on, bitches. We're ready for you. We have murder holes, portcullises, and things like that. I would like to see you take us on with all these fortifications. Don't storm the Victorian wing. It's totally unprotected. I don't know what they were thinking. Just ignore that. And because it's all part of the Duke's favorite foods. And, I mean, people eat fish tacos, so I don't see why there's no reason they can't try a haggis taco, as far as I'm concerned. We're not serving fish tacos, so if you're disappointed in that, I would recommend trying the haggis taco as an alternative. Like a serving platter for Cornish game hens. But actually it turns out to be a belt buckle. He had one of those. And he came over and asked us to live. Things like that from a long time ago that doesn't start like things do now. No. So, yes, this is a gin and tonic, and yes, it is morning. Let me explain why. We're going to call this the Duchess and the Batshit Crazy Day. Oh, darling, I just want to have a good day. That's all. You don't have to buy me anything special. Which really means I want you to go out and buy me something absolutely fabulous that I would never buy for myself. That's what he really means. That's the secret code for that. So I've been thinking about a go-kart. Because cock is another thing entirely, and we're not even going to go into that subject, but yes, it's just specifically this one artist by the name of Dink that I'm referring to here, just to be absolutely clear. The Exorcism of the Duchess is one possible title. I just can't imagine how that would go. I want to have a wicker man. And some demented, scary-looking toys. To scare the children when they come around begging for treats. It's always so enjoyable. Especially when you can hear them screaming as they run away. It's just precious. I love it. Because I do love punch. Because it's festive. Have you ever set punch on fire? That's always fun. That's always a fun thing to do. And when you're using this recipe, you can completely do it. We do have a lot of food trucks who come through the duchy because they know that the Duke has a great deal of fondness for food truck cuisine. And last night, it was the haggis wagon. So, the Duke got himself the, I don't know,
King of Glasgow mega haggis thing. And he also brought back a little something for the rest of us, including the Admiral. He got a blood sausage or a bridie or meat pie, some such thing. At any rate, the Duke did finish the haggis, and I had to remind him that the show we are doing right now is the Duchess Show and not the Duke versus food. So all this is really unnecessary. The golden age of rock and roll, or the platinum age, or whatever age it was during the 70s and 80s, the age of excess, huge bands, too much hair, groupies. You shocked that I cussed? Well, no, don't be shocked. It is something that duchesses do. You will see, we have to. It's the whole principle of being eccentric. You see, because I have all these elaborate speech patterns and I rant on and on at other times, but you can completely do that with swear words too. If you know enough good ones, and you're very good with the adjectives that, describe the curse words and the adverbs that modify them and all those other things, you can really string together a very impressive and elegantly couched flow of epithets with their entourage of adjectives and really impress the hell out of people with your cursing abilities. Yeah, that's squeaking, darling. I do not squeak. It's a very old chair. Everything I have is very old. What do you suppose a duchess goes trotting down to IKEA to buy new furniture for the castle? No. I'm afraid the Duke would really frown on that. But I got up and I found that the servants had been watching Pulp Fiction in the servants' hall, and a bat from somewhere had gotten in and was terrorizing them, really. Now, we do have procedures for when this happens, because it does happen, and the castle's old. And Mims, of course, he went right to his position. He knows exactly what to do. He went to the door nearest the bat, the exterior door, and opened it so that the bat can fly out. And then, he's a bit of a bat whisperer in his way. He does this incredible thing with his eyebrows that work on baby hippos, and we now have a rhino also. But he's a bit of a bat whisperer, is the thing about Mims. He does the thing with his eyebrows, and then he gestures towards the door like this to the bat, so that they know they can just fly out and be free and not be captured, in order to avoid all that, because it's disgusting, and I would not want to inflict that on anyone. So I'm going to take up an incredibly dangerous hobby as an amateur steeplechase jockey, and that way I can skip the nasty depends years and the flaky skin and all of that balding head. We're even going to have taco chickens so they can have their chicken tacos, but we're drawing the line at fish tacos. We're not putting any fish out in chafing dishes. Anyone who wishes for a fish taco will have to bring their own fish. We went out for a bite to eat at one of the local food trucks, and they had these epic-sized portions of things. Like, there was the whole enchilada. And the Duke decided that he would take on the Gutbuster burrito, which was, in retrospect, a mistake. So he was completely out of commission, unable to go to the store and buy 5 gallons of pickles and some lemon tea cakes. But the other servants, they did their part too. The chambermaids were standing at the top of the stairs with a blanket. They were holding up a big blanket like this over their heads to keep the bats from flying up the stairs. But every time the bats came through, they pulled the blanket down over their heads to keep the bats out of their hair. But luckily it managed to turn the bat around. Then it would come back down to where we were. And the footmen were running around, screaming like girls. And it's random, like, out of control, like something you would see in a daycare center or something. And I told them, I said, don't freak out, it's just a bat. But they continued to freak out, but luckily the bat did his thing. He was much better trained than the rest of my footmen. And I flew out past Mims
I believe he winked at Mims on his way out. Irish revolutionary who was William Butler Yeats's mistress and his mules. The one with the hat, yes, Maud Gunn with the hat. You know, Cruella de Vil had a cigarette holder just like this. Remember when she stabbed her cigarette out in the cupcake? Established her character right then and there. Of course, this is the type of woman who would kill puppies for their fur. She would put a cigarette out in a cupcake, which I would never do. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Cupcakes are delicious and not meant to be used as ashtrays.
The Duchess Show is brought to you by the United Biscuit Company, the makers of Twiglets, and Bassick Tipton Sales, and Epona Bloodstock Agency.
You see, we don't have a drinking age in the duchy. So when children come round, we give them beer and sandwiches. Trick-or-treating is hard work. You work up a good deal of appetite and a great deal of dust. And the parents, too, are welcome to have the beer and sandwiches, although we also, for the adults, have cocktails. Or for the children who request them, especially ones who don't like beer, they might have a cocktail. Tea cakes, sir. I think it was well worth it, even though I wouldn't care to go through that again. And they say the Duchess of Sassy Town on there. I mean, it's so funny. Quite cracks me up. I just love these socks. Any type of a gift like that just really makes my day. It's almost like it's my birthday and not the Duke's. Well, I'm moving the borders. I have 6 footmen, and each day we go out and move the borders of the duchy several inches, and no one has noticed. So we're doing very, very good thing, which I quite... Look at this hair. I mean, can you imagine me as an old woman going bald? I certainly can't. So yes, being a jockey it is for me, and that way I can just go break my neck and get buried 6 feet under, and to not have to worry about things like adult undergarments. I had the tea cake table right in front of me, and there was a hurdle box right there of the very best tea cakes right in front of me. And I said, well, this is the box that I'm going to buy, when I noticed, approaching me, this other shopper. Then he puts out his hand, and I step in it, and then he puts out his hand, and I step. So we do sort of step thing until I'm standing right there over his head, then we come back down, and then he grabs me, swings me around, and the Duke, of course, will play guitar for one set. And I have a very dear old friend who will be showing up to play guitar for the rest of the time. I'm not allowed to mention his name, contractual obligations, etc., etc. Anyway. But the question is, and this is what has always bothered me, as you know, the time that Nick Carraway accompanied Tom Buchanan into the city and they went to see his mistress, Myrtle Wilson, and they have that apartment and he got the puppy from Myrtle and they invited those other people over and everybody got drunk. Whatever happened to the puppy? Because we know shortly afterwards that Tom's wife, Daisy, takes Gatsby's car and runs over Myrtle and kills her. So obviously Myrtle isn't going to go back to the apartment to take care of the puppy. And what about Tom? But as I recall, Myrtle had a sister named Catherine who lived in the city, so let's hope she took care of the puppy. Miss Haversham's house was absolutely frightening. I was terrified of the cake with the spider webs in it. Worst thing I'd ever heard of at that point in my life. And then we go on and other things happen to Pip, but I was like, well. The rest of it was nothing compared to Miss Haversham's house. How could any child go to a place like that and not be completely morbid for the rest of their lives. So Pip is lucky he got out when he did, even though he had the money problems and fiscal irresponsibility problems and all those other things. Nothing compares to what happened to him at Miss Havisham's house. So the story ends happily. You'll be glad to know. At least I think it did. At any rate, he never had to go back. So as far as I'm concerned, happy ending. Charles Dickens, 3 stars. Liked it, but, wasn't completely crazy about it. Could have been better. What an exciting time it was. And Led Zeppelin, yes, they were the kings of it. These days, it's rather frowned upon for 14-year-old girls to go on the road with bands. But back then it was quite common. Nowadays it's pedophilia. Back in the 70s, it was considered to be a status symbol. He was one of the Sex Pistols' very good first fans. You see, the Dowager Duchess, the Duke's mother, for those of you who are American and don't understand what a Dowager Duchess is, my mother-in-law, in other words. She was a client of Vivienne Westwood. Vivienne designed her entire wardrobe, and Vivienne would always make sure that the Duke had very good seats for the Sex Pistols shows. And so the Duke was a very loyal supporter. He followed their career and was a huge fan right up until Glenn Matlock left the band. You always think, well, must be he has a lot of jowls and he's just trying to hide his jowls and tie them up and tighten them a little bit. Maybe he's trying to, maybe he's got some sort of a sweat thing going on like they do with horses that are real heavy through the jowls. They use the sweat to swoop, they sweat and it slims them right down through a heavy throat latch. So perhaps I always thought, well, that's maybe what Marley was doing. But it turns out, no. When he unties the rag, his jaw comes completely unhinged and drops all the way down to his chest and gapes wide open the entire time, even though he continues to speak, but I'm not quite sure how. But it's so Victorian, because it's like all those... Anyway, this guy, someone had a collection of all these little taxidermy animals, rather like what George Potter did with the Kitten's Tea Party or something like that. Little kitten corpses, they're all mummified and stuffed and dressed up and posed. Anyway, this fellow did it with rats. So he had this scene of all these dead rats fighting out battle scenes, and then he created these puppets. Well, they were kind of like puppets, but kind of like dolls, but sometimes they would have like taxidermy animal heads instead of doll heads. So they started roaming around the house. So yes, that's what is creepy about this book. So that Annabelle doll has nothing on these things. She didn't have a rat's head sewn to her body. Not trying to spoil anything for you, but no, all of the Victorian era was not like a pre-Raphaelite painting. A lot of it was like those movies with the hideous Victorian diseases. Luckily, most of them are gone now. Apparently, Tiny Tim had one. Oh, yes, getting back to the story, there's a little Topton here named Tiny Tim, and he had one of those Victorian diseases, possibly rickets, or maybe it was some sort of, who knows, some sort of birth defect because no one had proper nutrition and they were all breathing in all these sulfuric acid fumes from all the coal smoke in the air and everything. I give it 4 stars. It was a good, quick read. Nothing really particular happened, but the prose was very lyrical and enjoyable to read. I got to give it 5 stars for language, 2 stars for characters, and 3 stars for plot. So overall, it's like a 3.5 or something. Anyway, Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. You probably won't read it. You'll probably watch one of the movies, and if you do, you need to watch the 1974 version and not the one that they made with that last one. So it was up to me. And it was late at night. And I don't do well at the grocery store, even at the best of times. So I had gathered the lemons, and I was over in the bakery area. And also, we have things like this. Have you seen this? Absolutely creepy. That was a family possession of the Duke's. I found it somewhere. And that was it. We all got back to bed around 3:30 in the morning, only to be awakened with, well, a disaster. Sorry if my American references are a bit off. I try not to watch any American shows on cable, but I'm surrounded by them. And there's not much I can do about it other than go online and watch proper shows on the BBC type channels. I really like those a lot. If you thought the Exxon Valdez was bad, you should have been in the castle with us. On his way out to sea, the Admiral unfortunately had not even left harbor before he dumped the entire load of ballast into the harbor, and there was a toxic mess of such proportions. I did a Google search for... I don't think I'll be able to eat for quite some time. I'll just be drinking gin and tonics for some matter of hours or days. Yes. So, yes. Can we play some patriotic music? The song about the ducks. Oh, be kind to your web-footed friends, for a duck might be somebody's mother. Isn't that a very patriotic American song, traditionally played on the 4th of July? It's not. Well, excuse me. I am dreadfully wrong. Well, all right. Now this one I do know. I do know. This is practically the national anthem in America. We will rock you. That's played at every sporting event ever televised from the United States. So I happen to know that is, in fact, the American national anthem. So that's what we do here in the Duchy. Please be sure to stop by for trick-or-treats here at the castle. We're all ready. We've got jack-o'-lanterns that are carved up, and the footmen are busy sticking little candles in them at this point. And the chambermaids are getting ready. They're mixing up margaritas. There are two types of people who are best at swearing. One of them would be sailors. The other would be duchesses. We are absolutely the best at swearing, and I happen to be very skilled, even for a duchess, because I am the daughter of an admiral, and an admiral is just a really, really good sailor. So they have to know every curse word in almost every language of the waters that they sail to in order to become an admiral in the first place. And trust me, all my years of living with the admiral, I've heard them all. So I can really string them together. And this person was only shopping for tofu, Cheetos, and a Mountain Dew, but I could see them headed for the tea cake. And they were looking at the tea cakes as well, but I was closer, so I grabbed the best package. The unfortunate thing is it was the nurse's day off, being as it was a holiday. And the footman, of course. And this was totally uncalled for, because I did it politely. I just grabbed the first package and put it in my cart, and just as I was wheeling away, this person called me a bitch. Now, do you think I would put up with something like that in a grocery store late at night? Of course not. I turned right around and I said, well. So, here's a cheers to everyone else who's had a bitch. I am a bitch? Is that what you said? Well, if buying tea cakes makes you a bitch, then I guess I'm a bitch. And there is an I in bitch, but there is a U in cunt. And I turned around and walked away, and I spat back and I said, that's right, because they were still staring at me. in disbelief. Victorian diseases, you can show me any kind of a slasher movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, steaming piles of guts and beheadings. Nothing is as horrifying as Victorian diseases. The hegemony of the Hedgerowshire. Our hegemony, you know, how we're taking over our surrounding territories. He's quite in favor of it. That's one of the things that I agreed to when I became Duchess. I said, well, I can increase your holdings. Just let me work on it, and pretty soon the duchy will be twice the size it used to be. I recently saw a show where they depicted a prisoner in an insane asylum, and he had these syphilitic carbuncles, just these huge, like there was zits that were on top of boils, on top of these welts on his head. It was like if acne could turn into Godzilla in some way. And that was the way this man's face looked. And it's like quite common back in Victorian times for syphilis sufferers to have these things, hideous, disforming zit things on their faces. When I'm the bad guy, it's like, oh dear, that's way too real, way too close to who the Duchess really is. She's way too close to being a villain already. I don't think it's fair to pick on her like that. Marijuana friendly for many years, and doesn't really affect us a great deal, but now people from the outside are bringing us goodies. Today, Mims brought me a little brownie, which I will consume now. Duchess and the batshit crazy day. Rather like a grown-up Fancy Nancy story. I was always a big fan of Fancy Nancy, and I like to think of myself as an adult Fancy Nancy. Fancy Nancy grew up and became a duchess, and now she's drinking heavily. It's 10:30 in the morning, right? No, it's almost 11. We're getting there. It's already noon out at sea, so let's just pretend. And I said, that's right. What are you looking at, you cunt? And I kept on going with my purchases, and so you there who were shopping at the grocery store late at night, you need to go earlier in the day when the other rude assholes are shopping, so that all the young rhinos and hippos, all of our chubby little friends, have gone into the very large heated enclosure for the winter, because they really don't care for the cold any more than I do. And how can hippos play in frozen water? We're right up front. I'm so happy now, because the way it's going to be is like this. You might not know this about me, but I am 53 years old, and the last thing that I need is to have dink straight up in my face. No, I don't like it. Birthday party, but they are not allowed to feed any of the cupcakes to the hippos or rhinos. It's very bad for them, and I know that the forest of cupcakes makes it very tempting. But please, we ask you. But there's a rather elderly pony just outside who might appreciate a cupcake or two. He's already rather fat, so please try not to feed him too much. But he's very cute, and you should see him eat cupcakes. It's the most adorable thing ever. Yes. So, the story of how I met the Duke. It was back in the 80s, which were a magical time, I can tell you about. And I was at a concert, and where I come from, we don't have mosh pits, and we don't do slam dancing. We just, we remain in our chairs, clap politely, and during the really big numbers, we do a bit of sitting down type dancing. So, it was our Tony Basil show, and she was doing her big hit, Mickey. So, I was rocking out the way we did back then, and I was singing along and dancing in my chair. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blew my mind, hey, Mickey. And then I happened to see this chap across the room, and I was looking at him as I was singing, and it just so happens that it was the Duke, and his third middle name is Michael, so it could have been, actually, he could have been Mickey. And that's what I was, well, that's that's what I thought later, but at the time, that was what he was thinking. He was thinking, does she know my third and middle name is Michael, and she's singing Mickey to me? Is she trying to pick me up? That's what we did. That was before the days of hookup. She's trying to pick me up. So, no, I just played hard to get after that, but I'd gotten his attention, and that was quite enough. So, that is a very good story of how I met the Duke, and it's so romantic. I still like to tell that story whenever anyone likes to hear it. That is how I would like to close the show for now, and I will catch up with you all next time something fabulous happens. Mims is a genius. There's something called Google on the computer, and he absolutely knows how to work it. Every day he can get any type of information by using this Google system. I believe he may have developed it, but I'm not sure. But it works fantastically for every purpose. Like if I want to look at pictures of baby hippos, he uses this, and he finds pictures of baby hippos, like thousands of them, and I can just look at them, and he rolls through them, and I look at them all, and it's a very enjoyable way to spend an afternoon when it's raining outside, and I can't ride, or garden, or walk with the hounds somewhere. So yes, that's the story of the Admiral's hat.
Hey, you're an audience member.
I have already explained. When I'm 86 years old, I'm going to come to that way I can skip all the poopy diaper years and just go straight to
Hey, going down with you. Hey, what did I tell you about being a polite audience member?
Besides, think about what a spectacular obituary that would make.
See, now look at Mims over there. That is a polite audience member.
We have developed a special strain of red-haired squirrel here in Hedgerowshire. They're quite handsome, much less troublesome than the average gray squirrels that you see around. I can discuss with you folks, but I just wanted to show you one thing. This is a bit of a bad time with their pets recently. We've had a psychotic kitty who has been attacking people, and good God, she's on me. Well, it'd be great if a footman would come and take her away right now.
And I've got to have. How do I look?
Great.
Fabulous?
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to be a peacock for Halloween. Look, I found another very fancy mask with lots of bling on it. I just don't know what I would be with all these diamonds on my face. No, I don't think I'll be wearing the disco shorts anytime soon. Don't plan on that one. Forget it.
Then the Duke saw it, and he said, oh, but that really is a good story. If you want to tell it, go ahead. Now, the cat story. Try to get that one good cat that you never see or hear. I really like her a lot, wherever she is right now. Really appreciating her, Mary. I always get that frown when I think about Emma.
Duchess Show, take one.
Good show, everyone. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.
Are you ready? I'm sorry it took so long. Take 57.
In this reality. So, he was... Yay!
This has been a Hedgerowshire Limited Broadcasting Megacorp production.